be totally blunt, and it's one word. This is what it was for me, was ego. It is, you build a life of the background that I had, and to go and do anything different was just completely terrifying. I was so afraid of what everybody else was going to think instead of what was going to benefit our family. And it was hard.
Welcome back to Talks with Tal, the podcast with real conversations that break down how different businesses actually work. With business owners and income builders sharing their stories and experiences so that we can better understand how different businesses actually work. So if this kind of conversation speaks to you, make sure you're subscribed, give the episode a like, and share it with someone that you feel needs to hear it. Now, let's get into today's conversation with my next guest. Today's episode takes a slightly different angle on business, and you'll see why. I'm sitting down with Tyler and Dylan, a couple who made a decision a lot of families quietly think about, but don't always act on. Taylor spent many years building a career she loved, then stepped fully into motherhood, while Dylan worked away for months at a time, providing for their family. From the outside, things looked stable and successful, but behind the scenes, they were living two very separate lives. There's a moment in this conversation where Dylan named something that stopped me mid-sentence because it's rarely said out loud. As Taylor opens up about losing pieces of her identity, carrying the weight of home and family largely on her own, Dylan reflects on what it actually cost him to be away and what had to shift internally before real change was possible. Together, they talk about what changed when they stopped surviving in parallel and started building intentionally as a couple. How they redesigned their life around family instead of schedules, and why they believe you don't have to stay on autopilot just because life looks good enough. If you're grateful for your life, but quietly feel stretched or disconnected, or like something is moving faster than you want it to, this conversation will meet you right where you're at. All right, let's get into it. Okay, you guys, I'm really excited to have this conversation. So I'm so thankful that you're both here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here too.
Pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
I love that you're in the whole background back there. It's so awesome. We'll get into that a little bit later as to where in the world you are, because I want to be there. So I know pieces of your story from both of you, but before we get into all those deeper shifts, I want to give people a little context, right? So Tay, let's start with you. I want to start with your backstory before the chapter that you're in right now. What did your professional life look like, and how did it actually evolve once you became a mom? Like, what was that relationship like?
Okay, so I was in hairdressing for years and years. My first job as a hairstylist when I was in seventh grade. I cut my friend's hair at a sleepover party, and
Nice.
she wanted to look like Mary-Kate and Ashley, and I chopped all her hair off. I was like, I can do it. And my mom's best friend was a hairstylist, and she was like, you got to come over and see what Taylor did. And came over. They were like, it's actually pretty good. You should probably start working in the salon. So
I love it.
so I started working when I was in grade 7 at her salon, which then got me to move to the city after high school, took hair school there, and then was doing that for many years. Managed a barbershop over time. Did a couple things like that, and then we had our oldest daughter Ellie.
Mm.
With Dylan being away, I essentially had to give up my career, right? He was gone all the time, so it didn't make sense for me to be back at work, especially with, I mean, hairstylists don't make the most money, unfortunately, and it just didn't make sense to be putting her in daycare and paying out all that money and not being home with her when he was gone. So I ended up giving that up and staying home with her, and for quite a few years. I tried to balance bringing it back on the table a little bit here and there, but it just didn't work. You can't really rely on people to help you out very much with kids. And yeah, so did that. And then fast forward 5 years later, we had our youngest daughter, Ireland. And yeah, just kind of kept going. I did try to leap into another career that I could do more online, which was holistic nutrition. I took
Mm,
school for 3 years online for that, and loved it. I was very passionate about it. But again, trying to balance two kids, two
mm,
busy kids when your husband's out of town and you're trying to hold down a whole household is nearly
mhm,
impossible when you're trying to work too. So it just didn't happen, which I kind of felt like I was only a mom, right? It was, and
mm,
which is fine for some people, but I
mm.
struggled with that a bit because I
Yeah.
felt like I was more than just a mom. I wanted to be more than just a mom. And
Oh, I can absolutely relate to that. And I know that a lot of people can relate to that. I mean, I was a big time profession, before I started having kids. And with my first, also, I didn't see the sense in putting him in daycare. I was like, this
yeah,
is no, I want to raise my children. And was blessed enough that we could live on a one income household, that I could afford to do that, because then, my husband was working 7 days a week all day, but loving what he did, right? But, so I wanted to raise our kids. And so I didn't get back into the workforce until probably I was out of it for maybe like 6 or 7 years, just because I was going stir crazy, right? So
yes,
I needed to have the break. So once they started like kindergarten or pre-kindergarten, that's when I was like, okay, I can get back into having adult conversations. So,
the adult
and I
conversation.
want to say, I want to give you full credit, because stay-at-home mom, I mean, that's the understated profession in the world. Like,
Yes,
really, like people just don't understand how a day, the day in the life of a mom, like we always just say it's just conceptual kind of thing, but literally your hours will run into one day. It's like,
yes,
and all of a sudden it's nighttime and it's time to put them to bed. And you're like, wait,
yeah,
what? I didn't even brush my teeth today. Like what, So
yeah,
kudos to you, and to all the stay-at-home moms out there that are watching this, because this is real life and we get it. And we actually have the most important job in the world, is to
yes.
raise humans that are respectful and good and loving and all that. So yeah, kudos to you. So Dylan, oh my gosh. I'm really glad that you're here, because you're going to give a whole nother perspective to a lot of people that are going to be watching this podcast. And I really appreciate both of you taking the time to sit here with me today. Dylan, let's go back into your backstory a little bit, and let's hear a little bit of where you were before the situation that you guys are in right now, and that beautiful background. All right, let's talk about like what your life was like and what you thought of as the head of the household, as the income bringer, as now you're a new dad, and your wife is at home, and like what was your profession? Your Tay is saying that you weren't even at home. Like let's get into that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'll start out by thanking you for having us here. And yeah, just looking forward to sharing a little bit of the story. So, I mean, it's a pretty fully loaded question, but say go back. Well, my background is oil and gas pipeline.
Mm,
That's the only thing I know. That was basically right out of high school. That's what I started. So that's been my career. That's been more or less my identity. So, you go back 15 years, just a young fella that didn't know what he wanted to do
mm,
and just started working and realized very quickly that if you put hard work and paid attention and didn't follow the other, say, 70% of what other people were doing and you put your mind into it, you could go very far in the industry. So
mm,
there was just kind of a switch when I decided, you know what, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to hunker down into and sink my teeth into. And that's very much what I did. So that was give it my all, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I mean, my schedule was 6 days a week, 6 day on, 6 days on, 1 day off for the entirety of the project that we were doing. So if it was 6 months, that would be 6 days a week with 1 day off. And
Uh-huh.
then you'd get a long weekend. If you get a long weekend, whatever, however that would work into the schedule, but say 3 days off for your long weekend, 2 days off, somewhere in there. So as you start to build that picture of doing that for 15 years, that was, you had enough time on Sunday to do your laundry, maybe a little bit of grocery shopping or whatever.
Right.
And yeah, so then you fast track to when me and Taylor got together, and then having kids, it was great. It gave us everything. It gave us everything we could ever want. Like, and that's the awesome part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It given us what we didn't think was possible, right? It really shed the light on that side of things. And then
Mm-hmm.
you throw kids into the mix,
Mm.
and you have something. How do I want to put this? You're able to start gauging time.
Yeah.
Mm.
You're able to start gauging what 1 year looks like, what 2 years looks like, what 3 years looks like, because you can see a baby go and start walking. And, thank goodness for FaceTime. I mean, something that we were all reminded of by some of the old boys, they'd be like, well, we didn't have that. We didn't have FaceTime. You can still see your kids kind of. And yes, we're lucky for that. But yeah, you put it in a perspective of what that kind of looked like. Um, you miss a lot. You miss a
Yeah,
lot.
that has to
And
be, I mean, my husband, I'm going to full disclosure because I know that you can relate to this, even though he's loved his career and what he does and his businesses and everything, and he, comes home every night, um, he missed a lot. He
mhm,
missed a lot. And now that our kids are much older, college and post college, um, he's kind of like trying to catch up and trying
yeah,
to, redo relationships and be a different kind of person for them. But he missed out on all the other stuff. And I feel sort of selfish that I was the one to grab a hold of it. I mean, I got the good, bad, and the ugly, ugly, a lot of ugly, right? But he is sort of regretful. And so it's really hard on the dads. And I think that a lot of people don't really shed light on that. They just kind of feel like it's the we were raised by parents who had that traditional model where, mom was at home and dad was out at work. And when he comes home, you have to be all nice and clean and, just respectful and not stress him out and, not get him angry. Like the mom would say, "Oh, I'm going to tell your father." And you'd be like, it scares the life out of you. But he never wanted to be that guy. So I was always the good and the bad, right? So yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing that because that's a difficult perspective for a lot of men to really understand when they're out of the house. And FaceTime doesn't cut it. I'm sorry. It just
no, and
Right.
respectively so, though. I mean, being there's with anything, there's sacrifice. And
yes.
you have to sacrifice too. If you're driven and you want to get goals, you have to sacrifice stuff. You
Hmm.
doesn't matter what you're doing. So I mean, it's just where you put that time and energy and finding a balance. And if you can, and there
Hmm.
is another way of looking at things, then it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be on that
Yeah.
side of the coin necessarily, right? There's still sacrifice, but just maybe a little bit more on your terms.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. So, I mean, it's obvious that from the outside, life was looking stable and successful and all that. And then, behind the scenes, things were really happening during those years where you're kind of like, Tay, I know you were feeling a little bit discombobulated, where you were taking on all the responsibilities of the family, and then Dylan's taking on all the responsibilities of the financial wealth of the family. So take us back to the moment that you actually realized that something really needed to change. Like, how did you, approach Dylan with exploring another option? What were you really trying to communicate in that conversation? Like, let's just go back to that moment where first you're like, okay, I got to do something else because I need my man home with me more often and with my kids. And
Yeah.
then let's talk about how you saw something and you were like, this might be a thing. How do you approach Dylan with this?
Yeah, so I mean, over time you just like start to recognize like how you're feeling, and like the itch doesn't go away to be like, well, like how can we balance this a bit more? I remember like one day even saying to him like I would live in a cardboard board box is if you were home more. Like I just like wanted him home more. Like we had a beautiful home, like the brand new truck, like everything that we needed, but he was gone like almost 11 months out of the year, like it was like, cool, I guess I'll see you in 4 months again, and it was just, it was definitely over time. Like, and maybe there was like this one drastic thing that maybe was like, okay, now like we need to make a decision, but it was really like an overtime sort of thing where it was like obviously there was tolls and tolls being taken. Um and so I pretty much sat him down, and it wasn't first about income. Like it wasn't, I really didn't even think about that. He's
Right.
definitely the planner in the situation of everything in life. I'm more like, I want to do this.
Uh-huh.
We'll figure out later how we'll make
Say yes now, figure it out later. Yeah, I
yeah,
get
yeah.
that.
So I don't even remember well, I do remember the exact conversation we had, and I was like, let's move somewhere else. Like let's just move. Like let's get up and go. Like let's do something. We'll figure out the details after.
Mm.
And fast forward, we did that. I don't know how I roped him into that idea, but we did. And then it came down to, okay, well, I still have to go back to work. No matter where we live in the world, I still have to work. You still have to make an income.
Right.
And that's kind of when I came across what we're doing.
Right.
It was definitely something that I was looking at for a while, and then finally talked him into it, to take a deep dive into looking. Was he skeptical? Yes. But did he let me do it? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I love
Um,
that.
and I think it wasn't until like a couple weeks in where he was like, well, what do you mean you did like you're doing that? Or like what it was like curious. Well, maybe I should do it.
I love it, Dylan. I love it. I want to hear your perspective. Like, you come from such a deep-rooted all-man kind of industry where, you're all hands-on and very physical and all of this. And then what are you talking about? Yeah, I do need to make an income. We can do whatever, but the money's gonna run out at some point.
Yeah.
Like, what's the plan for the future? And then she shows you something like this. Like, let's hear your perspective on this.
Like she said, I was very skeptical.
Uh,
You know, I know where she was at though too. I know where Taylor was at, that she was wanting to do something, that she was, just tired of she wanted to get that piece of herself back. So I mean, I was all in on board. I was like, if this is what you want to try, by all means, fill your boots. I'll be on the sidelines. Let me know how it's going, kind of deal, right? And that was kind of that. And yeah, with curiosity, day after day, watching her, I was like, what's she up to? And there was this little piece of me that just hoped that something would work,
mm,
because at the end of the day, that's what we want. It's like there has to be something else out there. Like, coming from, like you said, that the background, it's you're not earning anything unless you put your work boots on. And that was
right.
very much an ego thing that I had to check myself once I realized that this was something that we were going to do together. So yeah, it was the curiosity that led to it, and I seen value in what we were doing, and I also seen proof and believed in what we were doing. What Taylor was doing was helping other people. And then that was kind of when there was a bit of a switch, and it was like, okay, I can get behind that. I can value that. So let's try do this together. Let's team up and see what that looks like.
I love that. I really do. Because now you're actually coming together to do something. So I'm sure that the dynamics also changes, right? So sometimes you're like, oh, I wish you were home all the time. And then they're home all the time. You're like, don't you have something to do? You have somewhere to be. Like you're messing into my schedule and my
Yeah.
system. And so like how did that change? Because I know that you decided to pull out of your long time career and come together to do this together as a unit.
So yes, and like I'm still I haven't fully retired from that. That
Okay.
is just I'm just choosing when I'm going now
Uh-huh.
instead of having to rely on it 24/7, which
That's
goes now from
beautiful. Wow.
We can pick and choose now. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
you're
to
gonna go
have
do
the
this job.
flexibility to be able to do that. Geez,
yes.
that right there is a bucket list I know from many, many men.
Yeah,
Like to be able to say, yeah, no, I want that project. I don't want that that's kudos.
yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, you're not strapped to always just having to, the phone rings, okay, see ya. Right? When are you
Mm-hmm.
leaving? Couple days. And then that's that. So
yeah, yeah.
um
So it's been nice not having to tell like a 4 and a 10-year-old dad's leaving in 2 days and you won't see him for four months, like, or 5 months. It's a
Yeah.
hard thing for them to grasp. So being able to be like, we're not gonna do this job, but you're gonna do this one in 4 months time is a nice transition.
able to plan life,
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking
right?
of
But
planning life, I mean, you guys have really shifted and changed everything coming from Canada and now where are you? Like what like this is so great because we always hear about, Tay Dillon, like where in the world are you guys now? It's like, you're no man's land, like wherever you want to be. It's awesome. So tell us where you're at because I'm loving the background. And
So
it's
we're
real, you guys. It's a real background. It's not a green screen. It's
yeah,
not
no one's
AI. It's
after.
real.
We're in Nicaragua right now, Central America.
And
Yeah.
this is not a vacation.
No, no, we're living here.
no,
The
this is
kids go to
home.
school here. Yeah, it's super cool. It's fun.
I love that. You're not in Canada in the bitter cold right now, and
Yes,
you just kind of decided, you know what, we can live anywhere and we will be able to have our income,
yes.
and yeah, so this is, you just picked Nicaragua, which I think is like so beautiful. I mean, I'm seeing the breeze in the background and the blue skies. Oh, love it. I mean, I'm in California, but it's still like 55 degrees right now. It'll warm up a little bit later. But yeah, my hands are frozen. And I'm like looking at your background. I'm like, oh, craving. That's fantastic. So now as a couple, now that you're doing this business together, like your work time and your family time and everything has completely changed. Your priorities have changed. Let's reflect a little bit on what that looks like now.
Yeah, I mean, our day to day is definitely night and day different than where it was before.
Mhm.
Now we're working as a team. We wake up, take the kids to school, go to the gym, whatever we want to do in the morning, come back and do some work in the afternoon, hop on some calls. We definitely bring it into like probably more than we should day to day. Like our 10-year-old's like, I could tell you exactly how the legacy project works, and I could pretty much work for them right now.
I love
Because
it.
we talk about it so much, but it's because we love what we do and we're
Yeah, it's
excited.
a good
Like,
obsession. It's a good
yes, we're
obsession. Yeah.
like constantly talking because we're just so excited about where things are going and like how our team is forming and what we're doing for people and helping them like change to do things
Mhm.
like this, right? We're just very excited about that. So it's funny the transition. Um
And
I love that the kids are involved too because they I wasn't involved in my parents' careers when I was growing up. I knew one was an engineer, one was an architect, but that's all I knew. I didn't know anything about their day to day. I didn't know about their projects. I didn't know about anything. And they knew even less about their parents. So my kids are also very involved in what I do on a day to day, and they offer advice and they see me on Instagram. They're like, that was a cool video or whatever. So
yeah.
it's kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
like It's just so cool. It becomes like a family affair, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think on my side of things, like being down here, the idea wasn't to live like you're on vacation because that to me sounds just like a total nightmare, to be totally honest with you. You need structure in your life. You need stuff to drive you forward. You need goals. I need them anyway. We structure them as a family together, right? So that is nice to have something to work at and to do something, but also get to do the things that you want to do. And when
Mhm.
you're able to build something around the things that you want to do, we put in what we're wanting to do during the week, and then we build around that. So if there's the kids' activities and school between school pickups and all that kind of stuff, we pencil that in, and then we build our week around that. So it's nice to flip that.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, Dylan, I really want your perspective on this because piggyback on and everything that you just said right there and what you just shared right there, you're coming from the background that you're in and where you're at right now, and now you're in a couple's business, right? Where you guys are working this together. What do you think that most men often misunderstand about what an online business looks like, or about, what it would be like to work in partnership with your spouse? What's like the biggest, what do they misunderstand about it? Because I get that a lot, I'll speak with a woman and she said, I have to talk to my husband and, he's not really into it and he doesn't get it. And I know they don't get it. So what is it that they're misunderstanding about this?
I'll be totally blunt, and it's one word. This is what it was for me, was ego.
Ah,
It is you build a life of the background that I had, and to go and do anything different was just completely terrifying. I was so afraid of what everybody else was going to think instead of what was going to benefit our family.
wow.
And to strip that down, and it was hard. It was that took a lot to do, but that is the number for me anyway. It was the ego, like letting go. It's to do something as a couple has been so empowering. You get on that same playing field. You're in sync with the decisions that you're making, because like you said, you can kind of start to see the void of living two totally separate lives, right? And what that does. Taylor had her own life and I had my own life,
Mhm.
essentially, right? On the road. So to mend the two of them together and to create something in alignment with each other has just been game changing. It's been an unreal experience.
I'm kind of like speechless right now because that word ego, like that was so far from what I would have thought that you would have said. Like it really puts a huge perspective and a huge light on exactly what that mindset transformation is. And you're so right how, we couples live separate lives, but they call themselves couples.
Mhm.
And you get to a certain point where it's like, we're empty nesters now.
Mhm.
We have to come together on stuff, or we'll just keep living separate lives. And
Yeah.
then that's the end of it. What's the point, right? To have a roommate that, what's the point? So I really, really love that you said and that just feels so honest and really true. Ego, just you gotta shame yourself down a little bit to get into the real perspective of what's happening and what needs to transpire for the partnership to build. I mean, on
Yeah.
all levels too, I'm sure you would agree. It's not
Yep.
just on income level, it's family and relationship between the two of you.
Yeah, for sure.
Woo! I mean, I'm freaking shaking right now. I've never heard anyone ever say that before. That was, thank you for sharing that. Wow. I don't even know, man. I don't know where to go from
Like I
here
said, it took a lot of honestly self-work to get there and to realize that. But yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
Well, you even
So
talk to people like on like from both standpoints of starting an online business, and that's a fear that a lot of people have probably even you've come into line with that, like with females that you talk to, it's like, oh, well, I don't want to be posting this and I don't want to be posting that. And it's like when I post every day, I have like a lot of engagement on my Instagram. Is it any of my best friends from back home or family members? No, nobody. They act like they don't see anything, right?
yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like they're not paying the bills. So
Yeah.
you got to kind of let that go because
Yeah.
whatever, if you want
Yeah.
to pretend that you don't see what I'm doing, then
It's
that's
really
fine.
about just
But
kind of getting out of your own way, like
yeah.
yes,
getting
yes,
just separating whatever disbeliefs you have and separating that, getting out of the way and just saying, no, this is, this is direction, this is purpose, this is
yeah.
meaningful, this
This is where you
matters.
go. Yeah, exactly.
I love that. I love that. So for the couples who are listening, who are grateful for everything that they have, but they feel stretched, right? They feel stretched thin in their finances, in their relationships, in their family life. Things are just super hectic and busy, and they're not really grasping onto what life is, and years are passing on, the kids are growing up, and it's still stuck in that same place where they've been before. Like what both of you share on this, like what would you be your knowing what you know now, like what's your advice to them? What do you want to say to them?
The you don't have to be on autopilot for like those years, right? Like you don't have to. There is another way to venture down, and it might be scary to start something new, but like you don't have to live like that. You can do something else.
Yeah, if that's in their wheelhouse and they're recognizing it, then that's half the battle. If they're recognizing that that's the way they're feeling, then like we did, just ask yourself why. You wake up one day and you're like, okay, we have everything we want and it's the furthest away from where we want to be. So ask yourself why is that? If it looks comfortable for you there, or
Yeah.
yeah, why are you there and why aren't you happy? And
And why don't you what's the worst that can happen in trying something new, you know?
Ah,
It doesn't work. Okay, well then you end up exactly where you are right now.
go right back through that door.
It's
that's
not
right.
going anywhere.
Right? Like it's not that door's not closing, the key's not gone. It's just a new one that you're opening and you don't know what's on the other side of it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's also, recognizing that a change needs to happen. And it just takes one of you to recognize that something needs to happen to shift. It's usually us females, sorry. And we kind of have to, smack it out of you a little bit, but that's what partnership is. That's what relationships are, and it's the yin to the yang. And that's why it's always a perfect mix, because you can tell each other the other perspective, the other vision, the other idea. And some jump on, some don't, but I mean, I found personally that this is an opportunity that it should not be passed up. If not for nothing, it should at least be explored. It should be tried, you know?
100%.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to share with the listeners? I know pressure. I
Yeah.
think we did a pretty good job, right?
yeah,
I think
I,
we covered it. I love so much. I mean, Tay and Dylan, really, truly, thank you both so, so very much. I really appreciate the honesty, the perspective, the way you talked about building together as a couple. You know, this has been so wonderful. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having us. It was
I
good.
appreciate your time. Yeah, this was awesome. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, amazing. All right. And I know that this conversation is going to resonate with a lot of people, especially couples who are grateful for their life, but quietly feeling that stretch. So if you're out there and you're watching this episode and it resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with someone that you care about, maybe your partner even, or a friend who could benefit from hearing about this conversation. Make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And thank you so much for being here and spending time with us. Till next time, take care. Okay, wow. Thank you so much for spending the time with me on Talks with Tal. If this conversation resonated with you, I would love for you to subscribe. And if you're curious about learning more about starting your own high-ticket affiliate marketing business, you can send me a message with the word conversation. So take care. Bye for now. Mwah.